In 1901, two high-profile newspaper editors conducted an all-night vigil to investigate supernatural activity within the living quarters of an old Georgian house. The following report is a factual account of the haunting events which occurred that night. Let's open the case. Our story is set in a Georgian house situated in Lincoln's Inn, an estate which covers 11 acres and is located in central London. It is the largest of the 4 Inns of Court in London. These are the professional associations to which all barristers in England and Wales must belong. Inside the Lincoln's Inn estate are collegiate buildings, barristers' chambers, commercial premises and residential apartments. The particular Georgian building in which the haunting took place consisted mainly of lawyers' chambers, and it is in one particular tenant's quarters that our ghost story begins. On the night of Saturday the 11th of May 1901, Sir Max Pemberton, a well-known author and director of the newspaper The Daily News, now known as the Daily Mail, accompanied a fellow news editor, Mr. Ralph Blumenfeld, on a paranormal investigation at the Georgian house. A personal friend of Blumenfeld became a tenant at the property 18 months prior to the all-night investigation. His rooms, consisting of 3 sitting rooms and a bedroom, were the only rooms in the building inhabited at night. Blumenfeld's friends' rooms were on the 3rd floor and closed off from the rest of the house by a short staircase and a door. He paid an unusually low rent and explained this by admitting that there must be something unusual about the rooms, as there had been 7 or 8 tenants within 2 years. All bar one had left in a hurry, and the agents were anxious to let it out at almost any rent. Blumenfeld states,
"My friend filled up most of the wall space with books, read, wrote, and mused during most of the day and part of the night, and admitted, in his more confidential moments, that things happened. He did not specify exactly what occurred, but after a time he became nervous and fidgety. Last month he left the chambers rather suddenly, declaring he could stand it no longer. He cleared away all of his belongings, and once again the rooms were empty." A personal explanation is inevitable in a thing of this sort. I will make it as short as possible. I am not a believer in ghosts, neither am I a disbeliever. I am no spiritualist, nor am I a skeptic. I simply don't know. But I am curious. With another friend who is as much the same temperament as myself, I arranged an all-night sitting in these rooms, where things happened. 2 chairs and a table were absolutely the only furniture left in the place.
The 2 men entered the front door to the property just before midnight, locked the door behind them and turned on the electric light. They were completely alone in the old Georgian house. After ascending the stairs from the front door, there was a small room which they passed through to reach the apartment in question. The room had a fireplace on the north wall, and the south wall had 2 doors. One was the door they came through from the stairs, and the other was a small room that had no adjoining doors inside. Blumenfeld goes on to say,
"We searched the place thoroughly, closed and locked down the windows, and pulled down the registers of the fireplaces. There were no cupboards or recesses, no dark corners and no sliding panels. Even a black beetle could not have escaped unobserved. The walls were entirely naked. There were no blinds or curtains. On the floor of the 2 smaller rooms we spread powdered chalk, such as used for polishing dancing floors. This was to trace anybody or anything that might come or go. We'd been warned that nothing happened in a room which folks were watching. The doors leading to the little rooms were closed, and we sat in the big room and waited. We were both very wide awake, entirely calm, self-possessed and sober, expectant and receptive, but in no way excited or nervous.
Around 12:43 a.m, the door opposite Pemberton and Blumenfeld on the right, leading to the little room, unlatched itself and opened slowly to its full width. The light was on in all the rooms. Both Pemberton and Blumenfeld recall hearing the door audibly unlatch and the handle turn. They waited expectantly, but nothing happened. At precisely 12:56 a.m, the same thing occurred to the door on the left. Both doors were now standing wide open.
We'd been silent for a few seconds, watching the doors. Then we spoke. "This is unusual," said I. "Yes," said the other man. "Let's see if there's any resistance." We both rose, crossed the room, and, expecting something, found nothing. The doors closed in the usual way, without resistance. "Draft, of course," was our comment, and we sat down again. But we knew there was no possibility of draft, because everything was tightly shut. While the two doors had stood open, we had both noticed that there was no mark on the sprinkled chalk.
Both men decided to close the doors and sit back down. Blumenfeld continues.
We talked again, but there was a tension, a restraint, which we had not felt before. I cannot explain it, but it was there. A long silence ensued, but I am sure we were both wide awake. At 1:32, the right-hand door opened again, exactly as before. The latch clicked, the brass handle turned, and slowly the door swung back to its full width. There was no jar or recoil when it became fully open. The opening process lasted about 11 seconds. We did not rise, but looked on and waited. At 1:40, both doors closed simultaneously of their own accord, swinging slowly and gently to within 8 inches of the lock, when they slammed with a jar, and both latches clicked loudly, the one a fraction of a second later than the other. Between 1:45 and 1:55, this happened twice again, but the opening and closing were in no case simultaneous. There were thus 4 unaided openings and 3 closings. The first time we had closed them ourselves.
The last times the doors opened were 2:07 and 2:09 a.m. Both Pemberton and Blumenfeld noticed marks on the chalk in the two little rooms. They jumped up and went to the doorways. Blumenfeld states,
The marks were clearly defined birds' footprints. In the middle of the floor, 3 in the left-hand room and 5 in the right-hand room. The marks were identical, and exactly 2 3/4 inches in size. Neither of us are bird experts, but we compared them to the footprints of a large turkey. There were 3 toes and a large spur behind. The footprints converged diagonally towards the doors to the big room, and each one was clearly and sharply defined, with no blurring of outline or drag of any sort. This broke up our sitting. We raised our voices to normal pitch, measured the footprints, made a sketch of them, lit our pipes, and sat back down in the big room. Nothing more happened.
Neither Blumenfeld nor Pemberton could explain what had happened. They left, locking the outer door behind them, and dropped the key into the house agent's office nearby. When asked about the case after the article had been published, Blumenfeld commented,
"I have stated here exactly what happened, in a bold, matter-of-fact narrative. I am not convinced, nor converted, nor contentious. I have simply recorded facts, and the curious thing about it is that my curiosity has not been cured."
Following this encounter, an unexplained attack occurred in Lincoln's Inn, attributed to the ghost bird. Keep an eye on our YouTube shorts and our TikTok page to find out more. Thank you for watching Cases of Mystery and Myth. Please like and share this video if you have enjoyed it. Consider subscribing to our channel as you won't want to miss our next case.